The time is now 4:10, and I wanted to make sure that I started on this minute because that's very important. Even though there's only a couple of minutes left on the battery, but that's no matter. We'll keep it going. 4:10, you're going to hear why it's very important. 4:10 is a very powerful gematria, and I'd like to connect it with this day. And I usually make the Taikus after Shkia, after sunset. However, I just turned 4:11 now, so we can say that 4:11 is Tevet, which it is. It's also Elisha. It's also Tohu. So there's a little bit of chaos here because we're dealing with time and mathematics and trying to understand Torah with it. But this, I assure you, this is not chaos at all. This is very orderly, very deep mathematics. Gematria, counting, very logical, very methodical. Today is the 5th day of Tevet, which, if you're in the Chabad world, it's a very important day. And I have paid a lot of attention to Chabad days, special Chabad days over these past several years. Long story short, the story of Hey Teves, it goes back to sometime in the December, January time of 1987, around that area. The Hebrew year was 5747, I believe. And there was a dispute over various books, library actually, lots of books that belonged to Chabad, and then someone that claimed heirship to the Chabad family was trying to seize these books, and there was a court case, and basically Chabad, as we know it today, the main Chabad, I guess maybe it's the Schneerson family, I don't know exactly, but they won the case. The books went into Chabad, and this supposed heir of the Chabad family wasn't able to take the books, and this is a great victory. And so it's interesting that this year it's falling out on December 25th, which we all know is Christmas, and there's an interesting connection between the brothers meeting, because the Alter Rebbe writes, the first Rebbe of Chabad, Baal Tanya, says that the Geula, I'm really largely paraphrasing here, but just the general idea in Parshas Vayishlach, in the Torah portion of Vayishlach, it's like Genesis 32, that area, when Jacob and Esav meet after a long time, and he basically writes that this is the Geula, this is the final redemption, when Jacob meets his brother Esav. Now, we know what Esav turned into eventually. Turned into Christianity. And it's very interesting that this special Chabad day comes out on Christmas Day itself. This year in particular, because there were a lot of unusual things about the year 2025, and now the year Tafshin Pei Vav, as we're going into 26, it's interesting that they came on the same day. But I made this video before Shkia, before sunset, and I started at 4:10 because 4:10 is the numerical value of not only Eliyahu plus Mashiach, and we know that they're connected. Eliyahu, Elijah, heralds the coming of Messiah, but it's also the gematria of Adam, David, Adam, Moshe, David. Adam, 45. Moshe is 345. 390. And then 390 plus 14 is 404. Right? And then the Vav makes it 410. Adam, Moshe, David. And Adam, David, Moshe is a concept, or you can say Adam David Mashiach, or you can say it's looking at these characters, these types, these people, and seeing how the redemption will come. It's like the first man, and then you look at King David, and then you look at Moses. You have roles of redeemers, of kings, of teachers, and the first man, and then there is a role there's all of them. It's the Messiah, Mashiach, and so 410 equals that. 410 equals. It's also Kadosh, holy, and incidentally, I had some dealings with someone his last name was Kadosh yesterday, but at any rate, right, so 410 was about a few minutes before 410. And here's where I want to mention, this is a Taiku. This is not even part of my PL89. Usually this would be a PL89 video. But I'm taking the time, no pun intended, really no pun intended, but I'm taking the time to say this on a Taiku because the Taiku today is amazing. And it's all connected. All of them are really connected. But I wanted to do it before Shkia, before sunset, because in the Jewish setting, in the Jewish idea, I still have to learn more about it, but the basic idea is that there's sunset, and then there's Bein Hashmashos, there's like the twilight between sunset and night, and actual nightfall proper. Like after sunset, but there's still some sunlight in the sky, although the sun has set, and then there's nightfall. So, I never got it straight when actually the new day starts. Does it start at sunset? I know that with regards to Shabbat, we have to stop work at sunset. We can't do any malachot. But then for other cases, it's extended more. So I'm myself a little bit more, what they say, machmir, more stringent. And I just say, when it's hit sunset, it's already considered the next day. So I started this before sunset. We're still in winter hours, but I started at 4:10, that's before sunset. And so it's still Yom Chamishi, it's not Leil Shishi, it's not the night of Friday, which we're going into, soon turning into now. But it's 4:18 now, and I'm not sure that we're in Shkia yet either. But remember, this is still a Taiku. This is, I should just say, this is the 189th Taiku. Now, those of you who have been following along with my study, I found a very interesting work. I found out about it, I want to say like 5 years ago, more. When was the Siyum of Shas? 2020? So January of 2020 was how long? So almost 6 years ago. Just about 6 years ago. Right now we're almost in January of 26, and I found it about in January 25 when I was listening to Eli Stefanski's Daf Yomi. At that time I was doing it, I think I was doing it every day. And at one point I was doing 2 dafim a day, but like different receptas and stuff. And so right now it's a really amazing time that we have all these people who are doing dafs. Anyone who wants to can be completely proficient and knowledgeable of all of Shas in a very easy way. You have all of the Talmud recorded, people giving shirs, daf yomi shirs, and anyone can listen to just about any daf. Now, after we finish this cycle, we're going to really be, you'll have the whole Shas, you already do, but I mean, you'll have a lot of people who've completed Shas with daf yomis on YouTube, this in 2027, God willing. So, I found about it in the very first time that the Talmud is in Tractate Brachot. It'd been 8 days into the journey, maybe 7 days into the journey. We were on Brachot 8. Tractate Brachot is the first tractate in the Talmud. And on page 8, which is really the 7th page, because all Talmud starts on page 2. At the bottom of the page, about 2 lines to the bottom, appears the very first Taiku. A Taiku is an unanswered, unresolved question, which the tradition has it. Among those who study Talmud, those will know this. It's common knowledge, and for all of you out there in the world, YouTube land, and everywhere else on the internet, you might be learning about this for the first time. But the Taiku is an unresolved and unanswered question, and the tradition is that we will not get the answer until when? Until the Messiah comes. But get this, here's what was troubling me for a long time. It's almost like not about the Messiah. It's about Elijah. Why is it being made all about Elijah when Messiah is the ultimate? Messiah is the Torah teacher. Messiah is the ultimate rabbi. He's the ultimate teacher. In the song that the Lubavitchers sing, talking about Lubavitcher days, they say, "E Messiah ka'asimar." When will you come, Master? Mashiach is a master. He's a rabbi. So why is it all about Elijah? So that's a question. I guess you might say it's one of my own personal taikus. But getting back to the subject at hand, I heard about it on page 8 when the first taiku happened. Eli Stefanski mentioned it in his daf. He said, this is the very first taiku, and then he goes, this must be the very first taiku that's written in the Sefer by Rabbi Aharon Yehoshua Pessin's book called Taiku. And when I heard that, I thought, wow, someone wrote a whole book called Taiku? That's interesting. That means, so I thought about it. I didn't give it too much thought, but I kept it in my mind for, say, about a year or so. And then Eli visited Los Angeles, and he came to the Valley. I'm sure he was other places too, Pico, but he came to Chazak in the Valley, and I visited him. I went to that shir. At that time, it was Sukkah 36. It was in August of 2021, August 11th, I believe, and it was the 4th day of Elul, if I'm not mistaken. 4th or 5th, maybe that night, so it was going to the 5th, or either that day was the 3rd going to the 4th, but it was around that early Elul, and it was August 11th or 12th, that area. So, I went up to him afterwards and introduced myself. We talked for a few moments, maybe less than a minute, but I asked him about this book called Taiku, and he said, yeah, you should look it up. His name is Rabbi Aharon Yehoshua Pessin from Ramat Beit Shemesh, and he wrote a book called Taiku, and what it is, it's basically a compendium. I'm not the right word, but it's a compilation of all the Taikus, all these unanswered questions, and I was just fascinated by that. That's like amazing, like all the Taikus, and it's one book, and you can just learn it like a book. This Taiku, that Taiku, this, one by one, and really what you can do is you can actually, in a certain way, in a small way, become proficient in all of Shas by learning this book. Because every Masechta has at least one Taiku. There are 3 Masechtas that have only one Taiku. I have a cute acronym for it. It's called Tamar. And there must be something about Tamar you can connect with that. Tamar is Tanis, Me'ilah, and Rosh Hashanah. Those Masechtas only have one, but everyone other. So my point is that you can basically become somewhat proficient in all of Shas by learning all these Taikus. And I like that idea. It's kind of like a Reader's Digest version, like a nutshell kind of thing. And it's good to know, what the first Taiku, the second Taiku is, and especially this idea that when the Messiah comes, how many people take that seriously? And I don't know that people do take it seriously. Are people really, are there people bothered by these Taikus? Are they going to ask Elijah the prophet if an animal swings its private part against something and smashes it? That's a real Taiku actually. And if an animal swings its male organ and smashes a vase on the street, let's say, or I don't know, a pitcher, an earthenware pitcher, then what's the law? I mean, that's actually, I think, the 123rd unresolved question. So you're going to go to Elijah and say, Elijah, nice to meet you, and whatever. I have a question. I just got to know if the animal swings his wing. You know what I'm saying? That was what's the law? So anyway, so I don't know if this is somewhat of a fun thing or if it's a joke. I don't know, but I took it seriously. It's like so serious it becomes a joke. That's a whole different topic. It's shtut shtatit. You're going so systematic in the shtus that it becomes like a deep thing. So I learned it from my. I consider my teacher, but rabbi and teacher, although he doesn't consider himself a rabbi, but he knows more than most rabbis. Ariel Cohen Aloro. But anyway, so the animals. Yeah, okay. I remember when I said that was the 123rd Taiku. It was back a few months ago. And I got a kick out of that one for some reason. I couldn't stop laughing at that. That this is an actual thing that you're going to ask the Messiah. If an animal swings his male organ and hits a pitcher on the street, what's the law? We don't know the answer. We need to ask Elijah the prophet or the Messiah or both. So this take was started at 4:10. But here, give a look at this. I want to make sure that I don't go too long because it's already 16 minutes, so here we go. English Gematria is one of my studies as well. Like, English Gematria, people think that's just a joke also, but it's a real thing. It's a very real thing. I can give many, many examples, maybe hundreds of examples of the validity, the veracity, the structure, the mathematical soundness of English Gematria. And today is December 25th. And it's Yom Chamishi before Shkia. That's what I wanted to make sure. Because when I started these teikus, okay, these teikus are all about the Messiah, right? Any yeshiva person will know. Will say, yeah, Mashiach comes, Messiah, son of David comes. Elijah will tell us the answer. So, I don't know. I don't go by like a timetable when to start stuff. It just, the idea pops into my head, and then I start it. So the first day that I started this thing was on the 23rd day of Sivan, Tafshin Pei Vav, which is June 19th. Juneteenth, they call it. Juneteenth is like a historic day about Texas when they emancipated the blacks, the slaves, the black slaves, or something like that. But it's a thing in Texas about being freed from slavery. So Juneteenth of 2025 was it's a special day in the Megillah's Esther, by the way. That's when they wrote the letters to send out that they could fight. I don't know why you need letters to say that you could fight. You could just fight, but maybe it was deeper than that. But anyway, these letters they sent out saying that they have permission to fight. Do you need permission to fight? You just fight. I mean, if you have to fight, you're going to fight. I mean, anyway, I'll leave it with that. So, where was I? Right, Christmas, December 25th. So December 25th, I started on June 19th. Now, what happens when you if you count, I did one per day. June 19th was Taiku 1, was that one that I mentioned to you on Rachel 8. The Esther Papa. I didn't say Papa, but anyway. All right. June 19th was the first one. June 20th was the second one. June 21st was the third one. June 24th was exactly like that. Keseder. All the way until December 25th, which is Christmas. What Taiku is today? If I went one per day, what number Taiku would I be at? I'll save you some time. It's 189. Okay? The 189th Taiku, and that's where we are now, is 189. What is the gematria of Merry Christmas? 189. Check it out for yourself. Not only that, it's a special thing. It's a special category that I call forwards and backwards, forwards and reverse. If you do A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, D is 4, E is 5. If you do that all the way till Z, which is 26, Merry Christmas will equal 189, which starting from June 19th and June 25th is the 189th Taiku. You can't make this stuff up. Do you think I calculated this? I made this up? No. There's something called reverse gematria, reverse English. If you do Z is 1, Y is 2, X is 3. If you do it in reverse, it's called reverse ordinal. It's also exactly, it's a rare thing, but it happens in some words that's the same forwards and backwards. It's also 189. And I thought, it can't be an accident. You can't make this stuff up. I can't plan it. So the 189th Taiku, starting from June 19th, one per day exactly, every day without fail, Merry Christmas equals 189, and the 189th Taiku comes out on Christmas. And I would like to ask Eliyahu and the Mashiach how this happened. Who calculated this? Who measured this out? Or I'd like to ask anyone out there, how do you even handle with this? How do you deal with this? So with that, it's about 4:30 now, 4:32, and 4:30 is Geula Shlema. It's a good time to start. So the Taiku, which deals with the Geula Shlema, and we're on 189 Taiku today, according to Rabbi Aharon Yeshua Pessin, appears. That was a long introduction, but well worth it, I think. Also, 705 is the gematria of Taiku Kuf Pei Tes, and 705 is an area code in like Peterborough, something like that, Canada, and that came up today in a place called Trainer Farms. Their area code was 705. The gematria of Taiku, which is 516, and you add 189 is equal to 705. The first phone number on my thing today was 705. Okay, that's cool for me. It's not cool for everybody else because, they're not gonna say whatever. You're a nut. You're getting too many numbers. But for me, that's amazing. Anyway, according to Rabbi Aharon Yehoshua Pessin, who wrote this book called Taiku, I believe it was published in the year 2006. But the 189th Taiku in Talmud Bavli appears on Shavuot 17a. It actually starts in the bottom of 16b with it's the last line of 16b, tractate Shavuot 16b, with the words Boy Rava. Boy Rava tzarech shiyeh lemalkus. Oy tzarech shiyeh lemalkus. Lekol l'gemir shiyeh lemalkus l'gemir shiyeh. Rava raises a dilemma: is tarrying long enough to bow down necessary to incur lashes? I'm wondering if it's like, we're talking about being in a temple courtyard in a state of impurity. I remember this from Daf Yomi. I remember that we were there. And you have to run out of there. Once you find out you're impure, you gotta run out of there. And if you wait, you're not allowed to wait. So what's considered waiting? So Rav is asking, if one was warned not to remain in the temple courtyard in a state of impurity, is he liable to receive lashes only if he remains there long enough to bow down, which is not a very long time, completely spread out on the ground? Or is tarrying not necessary to incur lashes and he's immediately liable to receive lashes? Maybe he can get on that moment, or is there a certain time limit to how long he's waiting? Okay, that's the question. The Gemara clarifies the two possibilities. Is it learned as a tradition that tarrying is necessary in order to incur liability to bring an offering, but not learned as a tradition that tarrying is necessary to become liable to receive lashes? Okay, that's 16b. Now we turn to the top of 17a, the very first line. That's where the take was going to be. O Dilma, maybe, bifnim gemiri shihiyah, Lo Shna Korban V'lo Shna Malchus Taiku. The 189th Taiku on December 25th, which is Gematria Merry Christmas. How do you explain that? That's my own Taiku. That's 189b. But anyway, or perhaps it is learned as a tradition that tarrying is necessary to incur any liability for impurity within the temple, and it is no different whether the liability is to bring an offering, and it is no different whether it is to receive lashes. The Gemara concludes, Taiku, let's see here. Is it learned as a tradition that tarrying is necessary to incur any liability for impurity within the temple, and it is no different whether the liability is to bring an offering, and no different whether it is to receive lashes? So we're talking about, does this tarrying affect offering or lashes? Tarrying is waiting. And so the Gemara answers, we don't know. We need to wait for the Messiah to come. And Elijah the prophet will answer the questions. My question is, why Elijah? Why not the Messiah? So I think we'll hopefully find out that soon too. Maybe soon and in our day.